Okay, 2 podcast episodes in one because I'm just feeling real yapper today. But hi, welcome back to another episode of the Divine Keeper podcast. If you're new, I'm your host, India Watson, and if you're not new, welcome back. Let's all just give a moment of silence for the birds chirping. I just think it's so beautiful to be outside because 1, go sit in the sun, 2, touch grass, and 3, listen to the earth. I don't know. And then there's a bee next to me. Would it contradict myself if I killed the bee? Cause no, back up. I'm scared. But it's crawling, so maybe it's not gonna do no harm. I wish you guys could see him. Imagine this thing just starts flying and takes off on me. Wait, let me get up. Let me get up. Should I pick him up and let him Can you see him crawl or no? Let me know. Do you see him? He's crawling. Maybe I'll let him talk. He's just crawling. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm gonna just let him get to the other side. And then I'm gonna sit back down. And I hope his friend doesn't come over here either. But no, I'm feeling like real Yap City over here. So this is my second podcast episode today, which I think is really good because now we're really bossing up. But y'all can't tell me nothing. But no, this podcast episode is based upon a conversation I just had recently. Honestly, I'm a fraud, guys. No, but seriously, I am a fraud. I feel like I talk about a lot of things in my podcast, and I come to so many different realizations in my own personal life that it's hard for me to keep track of every single one and make a podcast based upon them. But I've talked about so many different things on my podcast, not fully understanding and not fully articulating that everything is a continual process in life. I think you can talk about self-love and it can come across as I have mastered self-love, or I could talk about the law of detachment and it come across as I have mastered the law of detachment. I have not mastered any of these things. I just turned 20 years old last month, 2 weeks ago, and I just realized that I have such a bad habit of just being unforgiving and not letting things go. I have been reflective of so many different things in my life, things that are also just so out of my control, that I have only held myself back by staying fixated on things and feelings that I cannot control, emotions that I cannot control, situations and the ways that things played out in ways that I cannot control. One of my biggest realizations of last year was that I hold a lot of resentment towards myself. That to me is something that I didn't really realize until I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking about my life, myself, being very reflective, and I'm thinking about my 16-year-old self. I talk about this a lot because I hold a lot of resentment for her. I hate how I had no self-respect. I hate how I let a lot of things dictate how I acted and how I was. I hate how mean and negative I was. I hate how sad and depressed I was. I hate how I let people treat me. I hate a lot of things about how I was at 16. I felt like that was such a potential age to just be so young, happy, free, excited, because I had everything I ever wanted around me, and I feel like I ruined it all just because of my inability to have some self-respect, self-love, mindfulness, consideration. I don't know, but it was such an eye-opener in just reflecting of who I was then and how I am now. But looking at that, even being 18, 19, I'm oh my gosh, I still hate everything about this experience, everything about what I lost, what I lacked, what I had, what I didn't have, what I could have had, everything. And it took me a really long time. Mind you, this is resentment I have for 16-year-old me that I'm realizing at 19, that I'm oh, I hate this bitch. And it's literally just the old version of me. But I'm wow, I have such a deep hatred. And obviously the version that I was at 16 carried into 17, carried into 18, and it didn't really fully stop until 19. And it didn't really even get forgiven until 19. Because that wasn't until I really sat back and reflected about who I am and how I was and how I act, to where I was wow, I've done a lot of damage in my life in ways that I thought I wasn't doing anything wrong at all. or I just wasn't there for myself in the ways that I should have been. I'm just holding on to like a grudge against myself. And that grudge against myself made me realize I have a lot of grudges against other people in my life too. People in my life who I don't even talk to. Sorry. I do not play about bugs. Like, yes, I like being outside, but I do not play about no bugs. But grudges about people in my life who aren't even in my life anymore. And I think, like, as much as it's so, like, weird, but when people aren't in your life, I think a lot of the things that we do is, like, and this out of sight, out of mind. Like, we think because, and this is so weird because, like, when I was single, well, I'm still single, but when I was, like, in my pink singleness looking for a relationship, and, like, I, like, was in my near relationship experience, I swore up and down, I'm healed. I'm like, no, I'm healed. I'm ready for love. I'm a healed soul. And, like, I'm the one ready to lead. I got in the relationship and realized, or like the near relationship, and realized how unhealed I am, and how much I have to work on, and how many things I struggle at, and how much I need to learn, and like how I need to be willing to be led, and how I need to be willing to like take accountability and accept my faults, and not think that I'm just this perfect person all the damn time. Like, I have this like really fixed image of myself that I just do no wrong when I'm doing all the wrong, and my lack of accountability is only hindering me from growing and doing anything right. And so this grudge that I'm holding at 16 against myself, and this grudge that I'm holding against people that I experienced at 16, is only hindering the relationships that I can adhere to and develop at 20. Because I'm seeing characteristics in people that I already experienced that is leading me to feel like, I don't want to experience this again. But the reason that I experienced those, because that sounds redundant, but the reason that I experienced those experiences with other people in my life is to teach me something. And I was being so close-minded to the lessons that the people in my life were trying to teach me that I felt even more resentment because I wasn't trying to learn, I wasn't trying to grow, I wasn't trying to reflect, and I wasn't trying to like be taught anything. The mindset that I just do no harm does me so much damage. I've done so much damage in my own life just thinking like, you know what, you can't tell me shit actually. I don't need to listen to this. Like, sad. But we're no longer there. And that's the beautiful thing about it. Like, we are no longer there. The struggle to be accountable, the struggle to learn, the struggle to listen, the struggle to apologize, the struggle to admit my wrongs is not a struggle that I feel like I so deeply battle anymore. But a struggle that I do feel like I'm deeply battling right now is like letting go and truly being forgiving. There are a lot of people in my life, which I don't think I talk about this a lot, but there are a lot of people in my life who are no longer in my life that I wish still were. And I come across, which I know like from people around me, which one of my favorite things about me this year is I've been more open to like being vulnerable about admitting how much I miss people and how much I care and how much I love, because my ego is so high. And my ego used to be higher, but it used to be so high to where I would not be like, I miss this relationship, I miss this friendship, I miss this person, I miss this connection, I mourn this, I hate that I ruined this. I wouldn't even say I ruined anything. Like, baby, I'm a saint. But I can admit, like, it takes two to tango, and I played a role, they played a role, but I still miss it. And I think about, which I know is so like weird, because a lot of people are like, you should never want to close a door. I mean, you should never want to open a door that's closed. But it's like, what if I'm like, I think when I open the door, what's behind the door are just two different people. Like, you know, it's like, yeah, like we can close that door, but I'm like, these are so many experiences I had when I was young, and I'm not naive to the fact that the same thing can happen, like patterns can be repeated, but I'm also not naive to know that people change, and like we're children and we're growing and we're learning. Just as much as I hit this realization, like obviously the grace that I give will be a little less lenient when I'm like 30, 28, 29, 25. But the mistakes that I made in my life at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, walking into 20, I think those deserve the utmost grace. And I think the mistakes that people have made in my life deserve the utmost grace. And I need to put that into practice, because right now that's just words. I can talk so much about like being a forgiving person, and I can talk about like how I forgive others, but deep down in my heart I do get upset about so many things that have happened to me, and I get upset with myself because I let them happen, and I get upset with the people that cause the pain, because it's like, I hate that you did this to me. And I think I'm looking around for like validation and some kind of pity me award, when that is never coming. And to be a forgiving person, this is the only way that I put it. And I try to just like remind myself, but when you think about like God, and when you think about like Jesus Christ and how he died on the cross for our sins, whether you believe that or not, but when you think about like how Jesus died on the cross for our sins and his blood washed away all of our transgressions, it's washed away forever. The slate is clean. It's literally wiped clean. So it's like, you did nothing wrong. You basically did no harm. You're innocent because your sins have been washed away. Obviously, as human beings, we're going to continue to sin and make more mistakes and fall short and have our shortcomings, but your prior sins have been washed away. And through repentance, they're continued to be washed away, never remembered again. That is the standard of forgiveness in my life. That is the standard of forgiveness in Christianity. To forgive and let go and move on. Like, that's washed away. Your slate is clean. You are new. Like, this is a new you that you are walking in. And it's so funny and ironic because we don't think like that. I don't typically think like that. And I was on the phone with my friend, and that thought just like daunted me in my brain, that is the standard. And I'm so far from it. I'm so far from it. I will listen to your apology. I will hear you out. I might even apologize myself, but I'm not letting it go. And I think because of how I am, that is a crutch. That is me trying to keep myself safe and protected. And I'm just holding on to anger, and it's hurting me. So it's not protecting me. It's causing me so much harm because I'm just clinging on to the past. I'm clinging on to things that do not exist anymore. And it's so weird because I have like this one person in my life who has probably apologized to me 1,000 times over. And I just do not forgive them. And like, that's not funny. That's not a joke. But I just never believed that their apology was sincere enough that it deserved forgiveness. But bitch, who am I? Yes, as valid as my feelings are and were in that time to feel like, oh my gosh, I feel unjust and I felt hurt by this. Who am I to say that you are lacking sincerity in your apology, or you are disingenuous in what you say? Even if they are, what does that have to do? I can't control that. I can't control someone's true feeling. Like, if you feel that way, you feel that way. If you don't, you don't. That has nothing to do with me. I think I'm just so wounded up in like control. We are so wounded up in control, but more specifically me, I'm so tied into control and controlling others and trying to control the narrative and trying to be like Miss Know All Do All when I'm not know all and don't do shit. Like, I'm not in any type of boat like that. And I just feel like I really am trying to just be more forgiving and to just let things go, but genuinely, and not even just to let things go for them, but for me, because it's not about them, it's about you. And notice how when you're just holding on to things and you're holding on to better feelings, like how much resentment builds up in your heart. And I've talked about this in my podcast, but I really have just started to see like resentment build up in my heart for people because of my lack of forgiveness. Not because of their lack of apology, but because of my lack of forgiveness. A person can apologize to you 5,000 fucking times, but if you do not want to forgive them, if you do not want to be like, I accept your apology, we can move on, let's go forward, this is brand new, this is dead, this is gone, it's over, we don't need to relish in the past. You cannot tell someone that and so be relishing in the past and then being mad because you are relishing in the past. I feel like I got into more trouble than more good because I will accept your apology, but still be holding on to your transgressions in the way that I felt and the wrongs that I felt, and not be able to move forward in something authentic and true and genuine. And I think that's also why we need to remember that forgiveness takes time, and that is a process. I feel like there are people in my life who I've been forgiven, and to like retort back to like my previous statement, there are so many people in my life where, like, actually let me just tell you this story instead. my friend, this is not like smiley laughing matter, so let's get serious. But one of my closest, because I'm trying to be like very, 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 very like, because I try not to tell so much about my life, but I feel like this is my podcast, so whatever. But one of my friends passed away due to cancer. Well, not necessarily cancer, but one of my friends passed away this year. And through his passing, it brought together a group of my friends whom I have not spoken to in a year. One, I seen a lot of like, not irony, but I seen a lot of, I don't know, I was like very reflective during that too, because I seen a level of like closeness that funerals can bring. Like, death and life is celebrated and mourned, and it brings people together and drives people apart. I couldn't imagine, because even like thinking of this like person, I was not the best person. Growing up, like I've known this person for a while too, so like growing up, I was not the best person to a lot of people. And that's not a funny thing, but I just wasn't. And it's like, I am happy that I've grown so far, but I really wish I wasn't. And that's where a lot of resentment towards myself stays, like in my chest, because it's like, I wish I wasn't like this. But it's like, I can't control how I was. I can't control it now. I can just only go forward. But through my friend's passing, all my friends and I were like together. We went to the funeral. It was very sad, but it was very beautiful. Number one, it was very beautiful. I think that was a beautiful way to like remember someone. And so it's truly like, that was such a beautiful way to like remember someone. But it made me think, because I had been holding grudges against like these people that I also hadn't seen in a while. And I had been holding grudges because like I either like missed the friendship, and I missed the connections that I had, and just like because when I tell you guys I had no friends, I would just work and I would have no one to talk to, like nothing to do. I would just work. And I'm like, I miss that. And I feel like I ruined part of that because I was a bad friend and I was a bitch and XYZ, ABCD. And then also just not having like the humility enough to admit that. That's another thing that kind of got me. And that's kind of like what I was like reflecting on, and missed what I already needed to be reflecting on through my friend's passing. But yeah, like I'm like, whoa, I don't know, everything is so reflective to me because I just always take a time to like think about like every point of view. Like I'm always just thinking. But no, like I just feel like I've like really been like, wow, I need to be better to people, and I strive to be better to people. I want to be better to people. I want people to like walk away from knowing me and being like, wow, what a better experience. Because like, what a better experience. And that's like life with everybody. I have experienced so many people that I'm like, wow, like you've really changed and you've really grown, and I could not be more happier for you. I think also one thing that's always just been so hard for me with the whole idea of growth and change and like recognizing and like reconciling is like, I feel like people only know me from their last experience of me, and I only know people from my last experience of them. I think it puts people in a box, and you in a box, when that is the only thing that you remember of someone, and you remember them being a specific kind of way, or you remember them acting a certain kind of way. Some people in their brains cannot comprehend or even want to open their minds up to the expansion of human development and change. They don't want to see you as you've grown. So I think also, if you are kind of like going through processes of like reflecting and like learning about different parts of yourself, forgiving different parts of yourself, forgiving different parts of like the experiences people have had in your life and like the impact that they've had on you, don't go into this, either if you ever think of like reconciling with people, or you know, building new bonds, don't ever go into it expecting or hoping that someone else sees your growth or your change. My freshman year, I remember like I changed a lot, and a lot of people would tell me that I didn't change at all. that hurt me a lot, because I felt like, no, I'm doing so much work on being a better person, and you're telling me I'm still a bad person. Like, my feelings are getting hurt. And stop doing everything for validation. Stop seeking validation in other people. Like, go through all the change and the development that you need to go through, but know that your character is just fully fulfilled through you. Like, literally stop looking for other people to validate your change and who you are becoming. Just become. Don't look for other people to tell you what you are. Just identify as who you are and who you want to be and who you want to grow into. I miss a lot of people in my life, and I talk to God a lot, and I'm like, if this person and I like were friends now, our friendship would have been better, or it would have been different, or it would have been this, that, XYZ. My relationship would have been better. I would have been like probably in a 5-year long committed relationship with 3 babies and a ring. Like, you never know. But I also say, like, if I never had those negative experiences, I would not be who I am today. I'm grateful for my good and my bad and my ugly, and I'm grateful for the good and the bad and the ugly that I've experienced out of other people, because that is just that, an experience. I don't know. Everything is a continual process. I do not ever want to talk about things in my podcast like I'm definitive and I have mastered and conquered, and ooh, that thing flew by me. But I do not ever want to talk about things like I've mastered and conquered and completely know all, be all, am all, because I am not. I am flawed. I am growing. I am evolving. I am changing. I am making mistakes. I am forgiving myself just as much as I am forgiving others. And I'm working so hard on just letting things go, because as much as I like want to focus on like how bad someone has hurt me, what if we focused on how bad we have hurt others? And let's think, is this keeping you up as much, how bad you've affected somebody else, as much as it's keeping you up that somebody else has negatively impacted you? We just need to focus so much on what we can control. The actions of other people is not within our capabilities and our controls. How they feel, we have nothing to do with. What we can do about it, nothing we can do with. And that's just basically that. Like, it's so not within our control. And we just need to learn to like truly let that go and move on. And just focus on what we can control. So yeah, that is today's podcast episode, and I will see you guys soon.